Well, hello and good morning to everyone. This is the day that the Lord hath made. We shall rejoice, we shall sing, we shall be glad in it. I'm Dr. Julia Royston of BK Royston Publishing, Royal Media and Publishing, and the Book Consulting Services Company, the Book Business Bosses, where we help you get your message to the masses, turn your words into wealth, and be a book business boss. So, our scripture today is comes from Genesis 22. The King James Version is what I'm just most familiar with. I love all the versions, but the King James Version is what I'm most familiar with. And it's the story of Abraham. And the topic we want to talk about is where is the sacrifice? Now, first off, I have to give you a disclaimer. This was Abraham's test. This was Abraham's what he's the father of faith. So this was his faith test. Your faith test is going to be different. What God asked Abraham to do and submit to and obey, and it didn't carry out like he thought, is not what's going to happen to you. So that's number one. So that imitation, no, we're not doing it. Imitation. It's the spirit that I want to focus on this morning, because this is one of those things that sometimes I wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and God will give it to me on Sunday. And then sometimes, like this has been rolling around in my head for about 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, okay, I can't wait to record it because I got to get it off of me. Now I know kind of how the preachers feel. No, don't nobody come for me. I'm called to teach. I'm not called to preach. My job is hands were laid on me. The call came from God. Hands were laid on me by one of my mentors, and I'm called to teach. That's what my call is. So where is the sacrifice? So as you know, God told Abraham to take his only son Isaac, the one he had labored for. Um, uh, they had in his old age, the story of Ishmael and Hagar and all of that. If you don't, go back through Genesis and read that. It reads like a soap opera. But God had promised a son to Abram and Sarai, and then he changed their name to Abraham and Sarah. So he had promised a child to their union. Sarah came up with another idea, but we know how that worked out. So where is the sacrifice? And so the thing that he kept saying to me in my head over and over again, and you take it however you want to, and I have been, I think, on my guard, and old folks say, you try to you're checking yourself, you're examining yourself. But I hear Isaac's voice and saying throughout the scripture, saying, Father, I see the wood. Father, I see the fire, but where's the sacrifice? Not knowing that he was going to be the sacrifice, that he was positioned to be the sacrifice. So I was like, now, Lord, you know how much I sacrifice for what I do, for where I go, for who I am, what I've done for you. I look back on it 23 years ago. I pretty much walked away from everything I knew. My family was here, my people I knew were here, but God was leading me in a different direction to do a different thing. And I am the least likely to do that. By nature, I am a follower. Like, what line do we get in to get these tickets? What is the process? What's the procedure? People who've done business with me, or even if we network, I'm doing more with putting books in bookstores now than I ever did before, but I want relationships. I just don't want to put it in the system. I want to develop a relationship with the bookstore owner. And each one, I say, what is your procedure to make sure that I can go along with the demand of your procedure in your store, in your business? So I'm one of those who probably do more than ever was I supposed to. Uh, short story. I was speaking of really kind of going along and doing what the rules are. I was auditioning for something, participating on a showcase many years ago, singing, and they told us we could not go over, what was it, 10 minutes or whatever. And I had timed myself. I knew exactly how much time I had. And but I was singing, and at the time the anointing came down and the people got happy and they said, keep going, keep going. But with the way I was raised and the way I was brought up, when the time was up, you sat down. And that's what I did. I sat down, and people were like, you should have kept on going. Well, my first pastor always says, leave them wanting more. So thinking about leaving what I knew, leaving the familiar, leaving the family that I knew, the church organization. I mean, I was on international staff. I traveled the country for a church and for my own denomination and all that. And to leave all of that, resign all of that for a direction God showed me and he told me. And I didn't even know fully where I was going and what I was going to be doing and what he was really asking me. I know more 23 years later, but he's still sending me in directions, taking me places. So number one, it is the sacrifice is number one, the act of obedience. We talked about obedience last week, and I guess we can't get off of it. But last week we were talking about the power of obedience. It's better to obey than great sacrifice. In that scenario, though, we were trying to sacrifice something instead of obeying. This week we're obeying, and God is testing us to see how great a sacrifice we are willing to give and offer. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to walk away from everything that you know? Are you willing to pack up? And I've seen people, whether it's real or fake, I've seen TikToks and videos of people that God told them to pack up everything, and they did. They packed up everything they knew from a city, quit a job, move to a place and a city and a state that God told them. And they didn't know why and they didn't know what. They just knew they were doing it. Okay. So the act of obedience was, of course, in Abraham's favor because he had already told him, I'm going to make your name great. You're going to be the father of many nations. But he doesn't tell you that middle, that part in the middle. So it's number one, it's the act of obedience. Are you willing to do it? And the thing he loved the most, the thing he had prayed and begged God for the most, God was telling him to sacrifice it. The thing that he enjoyed the most. And I know what that's like. I don't have any biological children, but my travels and the people I met and the people I knew and places I've been, I had to sacrifice that. And that was the act of obedience, of moving in a different direction. They were, I hope God sends you back to us. I said, I hope so too, but I got to obey him. I can't, and I lost friends for that. Lost family members because of that. They'll always be my family, but they always look at me like, I don't know. Well, I don't know either. I don't know either. And then number two, that's the acts of obedience. But number two, the submission to sacrifice. It is, and that's like putting two curse words in a sentence. Submission and sacrifice is just like, two horrible things. But 23 years later, after submitting to the sacrifice of leaving and walking, number one, I have a relationship with God that I never would have had if I hadn't obeyed. So therefore, sometimes it's like, Abraham was rich and he was the father of many nations and he was going to make his name great. It's all about the people are seeing the big picture. Woo, the glamour, the glitz, but you don't know what it takes to get there. You don't know what it takes to obtain that. And he had to give up a lot. He had to get out of your country, get out of your kindred, and go to a land I will show you. But he didn't tell them, now this is where your address is going to be. This is where your house is going to be. This is what you're going to have to sacrifice. And oh, by the way, that child I'm going to eventually give you, you may have to offer him and kill him. He didn't tell him that. So therefore, that submission to sacrifice is number 3, a walk by faith, and clearly not by sight. He was the father of faith because he believed God above everything. Everything he knew, everything he had, nothing he had was bigger than what God said. So when they got on the mountain, and Isaac said, okay, I see the wood, I see the fire, but where's the sacrifice? Like, okay, I know how this goes, God. And believe you me, that was his son, but he wasn't no baby. Okay. We are told that, he's of age. Even if he's 13, he knows, okay, when we sacrifice, we got a lamb, we got a ram, we got a something. Okay, I see the wood, I see the sacrifice. And the word God wanted me to let people know, and that I have been rolling over in my own life, is you see the fire, you have a passion for it. Oh, and you talk. People have talked a good game. Oh, this is what I want to do, and I'm believing God, and I'm believing God, and I'm believing God, and God has showed me, and God has told me, and he has said. And the wood is the tools, the gifts, the talents, the ability that will continue to help fuel that fire. Okay? So the fire is the passion you have for the thing. You're called. The wood represents, because Jesus died on the cross, and that was wood. So the wood is the tools, the object, the subject of it. And now this is my own interpretation. Y'all can go where y'all want to go. But he said the woods is the tools and the resources that you have. The wood always is representative of you've got all the materials to help with this fire, to keep this fire going. He said, but where's the sacrifice? What are you willing to give up to keep this fire going? What are you willing to offer up to me? What are you willing to say, not only to walk by faith, God, it's your will and not mine. We have dreams, we have goals, we have things, and at this recording, it's still, no matter when you hear it, it could be the beginning of the day, the end of the day, it could be the end of the month or the beginning of the month, it could be the beginning of the week or the end of the week. At the recording of this is the early part of 2023. So we're still trying to get goals and objectives and get our money back from Christmas and all that. But the real sacrifice here, is to say God's will and not mine. God's will and not yours. What way you want me to go and not mine. If I had my way, there would be a whole lot of things different in my life. But I had to say God's will and not mine. If I'd had, if other people had been able to decide, I would be living a totally different life than I'm living right now. This is way beyond my wildest dreams of the life that I'm living right now. Far beyond anything I could have ever thought of myself, for myself. Not me. Oh, no, not I. But I have a greater connection and a greater relationship with God, far beyond anything I would have ever thought of myself. Never. Being able to hear his voice, being able to move when he says move, being able to say yes to his will, being able to say, okay, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to do that later. I'm switch gears on business opportunities because I did say yes. I did sacrifice. I did move when he said move. It broadened my horizons. It opened my eyes. But that was just like my show, Live My Best Life. That was my life that he called me to. What is yours? What's the life he's called you to do? What is the thing he's called you to do? What have you said yes to, and what have you not even started? I'm not talking about 2023. I'm talking about the thing he said back in 2015. The thing he said back in 2010. that you still haven't started yet? Or that thing that you should have done many, many, many years ago. And I have known people who passed away and still didn't get it done. Didn't even start it. When I see him face to face, I want to hear him say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Was I perfect? Lord, no. Did I work hard? You better believe it. Did I sacrifice much? Walk away from much? You better believe it. Do I know him better? I love him better every day, as the old fool song said. You better believe it, because I know him for myself. That old choir song says. Yes, I know Jesus. Yes, I know Jesus for myself. So where is your sacrifice? Where's the sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice for what he says? Not what somebody else says you should be doing. Not somebody else said you should be marrying. Oh, that's a job. They said, oh, no, I think you. It's got to be what you see, hear, feel God saying to you, not nobody else. That's the reason why living your best life is the best life to be living. And it cannot be because of somebody else or something else. The safest place still is in the will of God. I hope that helps you. I hope that blesses you. Where is the sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice everything for God's will and God's plan for your life? Oh, it is incredible. It's amazing. It's scary. But he's with you. There are times when I wake up in the morning, he said, I got you. I'm with you all day. Now, it puts me kind of on alert because I'm thinking, is something horrible getting ready to happen today? But he'll never leave us nor forsake us. He'll be with us in 6 trouble, 7 trouble. He's got us. I hope that helps you today. I hope that blesses you. Coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live your best life right there on envision-radio.com. Listen in on our website. That's the number one place, envision-radio.com. And then download the app, put it on your phone, put it on all your mobile devices. Carry us with you everywhere we go. We're on 24/7. But it's also available at radio.net, radio.garden, Alexa, Get Me Radio, Roku, MediaU, MyTuner, Audacity, Tuner.co, and wherever podcasts are heard. Be sure and listen in. This week, we are continuing and finalizing our beginning of the year series of getting the year starting off right. And this is Live Your Best Life. So it's not, it's taken from my book, Live Your Best Life. God gave me the 4 weeks, and then I have a special panel on next week, Live Your Best Life. And so I'll be announcing that next week. But Live Your Best Life on envision-radio.com. And then coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Spike Davis and Friends show. Tune in for laughs, music, and more. Then on Tuesday, the Book Business Boss shows, Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right there on envision-radio.com. And the replays are at the Book Business Boss Podcast.com. That's the Book Business Boss Podcast.com. Coming up in February 2023, have a lot going on. First off, I have classes coming up. February 7th is the, I think first is the Write That Book Now class. It's coming up February 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can register for that at roystonclasses.com. And then February 16th is the Children's Boot Camp, which comes up on February 16th at 7 p.m., bookbusinessbosstraining.com. And then if you're in the Lexington, Kentucky area on February 25th, I'll be at the Impact Kids Boutique right there off Limestone in Lexington, Kentucky. Find out more information and how you can register. The first hour is a children's reading hour. There'll be crafts. There'll be all kinds of fun stuff. From 12 to 1, and then 1 to 3, we'll have our writer's workshop. So register. It's only $25 at the bookbusinessbosstraining.com. And then coming up, March the 20th through the 26th. I'll be many more places, so check out my Facebook page. But the Royston Book Fest vendor.info, I am hosting a week-long pop-up bookstore and expo March 20th through the 26th. So go to Royston Book Fest vendor.info for more information. Authors, you can have your books in that bookstore for a solid week. And then if they do not sell in that bookstore, I am offering to take your books on the road with me. So check that out, Royston Book Fest vendor.info. Also, if you're interested in writing your book, you need to have a conversation with me, go to talkwithroyston.com and let's have a conversation about your book, publishing process, the status, if you need the Book Business Bosses services, whatever you need to take your book to the next level and either establish a business, coaching, whatever you need. So let's have a conversation about it and let me hear your heart and your vision. Go to talkwithroyston.com. I'm Dr. Julia Royston. For all of my online stores, all of my websites, go to juliaakroyston.com. juliaakroyston.com. There even, I think there's a couple giveaways over there. So be sure and tune in vision-radio.com, where praise meets talk 24/7. I'm Dr. Julia Royston. Have a blessed and phenomenal day. Be blessed. Bye-bye.